Good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion recorded on June 29th, 2023, around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot of things to talk about today, including twin tropical cyclones in the Eastern Pacific Basin and what's going to be happening in the Atlantic Basin over the next several weeks. We got a lot to talk about today, so sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and jump straight into everything. Taking a wide look across the tropical Atlantic this morning, we noticed that it is fairly active in terms of tropical wave activity. However, there is no ongoing tropical cyclones in the Atlantic Basin, which is certainly some good news. However, we do have a slew of ongoing tropical waves over there near Puerto Rico, the USVI, and a slew of tropical waves that is getting ready to move into Trinidad, Tobago, in the northern coast of South America over the next coming days. No activity is currently expected out of these particular waves, but we'll continue to monitor the progress of these waves just in case if anything develops. And a few mid-latitude cyclones up here, but otherwise the Atlantic Basin is relatively quiet. And in the Eastern Pacific Basin, we have a slew of ongoing activity currently, including Hurricane Adrian, well to the southwest of the Baja Peninsula. And we have Tropical Depression 2E that has formed in the Eastern Pacific Basin. And this will be gradually strengthening, or rapidly strengthening rather, into a hurricane as it pretty much parallels the Mexican coastline. And we'll talk about this in greater detail here in just a second. But firstly, here in the Atlantic Basin, we're kind of monitoring a broad surface trough. And this is sort of the remnants of Sydney combined with a general surface trough from Puerto Rico and the Caribbean northward into the subtropical Atlantic Basin. This is non-tropical in nature, but the National Hurricane Center is currently giving this a low probability to develop over the next couple of days, as the system generally moves slowly off towards the north here at around 5 miles per hour. So this is not expected to really develop, at least in the short term. And the majority of the model guidance today is not really picking up on any substantial development. So with that being said, I'm not really so confident that this will become anything of significance, but we'll continue to monitor it just in case. And we also have a slew of tropical moisture getting tugged off towards the north into places like Nova Scotia. This is actually the upper level trough here combined with the moisture from the remnants of Tropical Storm Sydney. And this is going to be continuing to impact the region for the next several days. Gusty winds, heavy rainfall going to be the primary threat with that. Taking a look here at Tropical Depression 2E in the Eastern Pacific Basin this morning, we noticed that the system has become a lot better defined since yesterday. In fact, here looking at the visible satellite imagery, it's still a conglomerate mess here of shower and thunderstorm activity. This is not a super well coherent singular vortex at this point that is very well organized. However, we do notice on the broad scale that there is turning somewhere within this general vicinity, and this will gradually consolidate into a tighter area of circulation. You see the southerly winds here, or the winds from south to north here on the southern side of the circulation. And you can generally see this broad cyclonic turning nature within this overall thunderstorm complex. So this is pretty close, though, to the Mexican coastline, which is right about here, as indicated by my cursor. So this is bringing some gusty winds and heavy rainfall to the Mexican coastline today. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at where the storm is going right now. So looking here at the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center on Tropical Depression 2E, this is expected to become a tropical storm later this afternoon. Right now, maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour, moving off towards the west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. There has now been a hurricane watch in this kind of pink shade area. There is now a hurricane watch for a portion of the southwestern coast of Mexico. So we have a hurricane watch from Lázaro Cárdenas, I believe, to a portion of Mexico. And we also have a tropical storm warning for portions of the area. So I'm not going to even try to pronounce it. It is just not in my vocabulary list. But we do have these watches and warnings that are in effect, of course. Make sure to always refer to the National Hurricane Center for the latest updates on the system. So this is expected to then become a hurricane. This is not yet reflected on the latest track forecast because it is a little slow to update, so the apologies are out there. However, the system could become a hurricane according to the Hurricane Center on Friday evening. Thus, there is the necessity for the hurricane watch here in the pink shaded areas. So again, generally we're looking at roughly around 3 to 5 inches of rain as this tropical storm moves off towards the north and west, with isolated amounts of 7 inches as this progresses off towards the north and west. And the next advisory from the Hurricane Center will be at 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time this evening. Looking at all of the latest forecast guidance, this is all of the forecast models that are on these two systems. This is Hurricane Adrian over here with a sustained wind of 85 miles per hour, closing in on 90 miles per hour. The storm is going to be with Tropical Depression 2E. This storm is expected to continue moving west-northwest. Very few models today have continued to push this inland over portions of coastal Mexico. So for that reason, there is a decent confidence that this will remain offshore, but close enough to still bring potential tropical storm and or hurricane impacts. And remember, because of the storm's forward motion, the winds are going to be enhanced on this northern side, and so hurricane conditions are possible within this hurricane watch area sometime by later this week and into, like tomorrow and Saturday. And then this will continue moving off towards the west-northwest, getting fairly close to the Baja Peninsula at this point. Again, some models continue to take this over land, but the majority continue to take this offshore. And that is why the latest forecast cone does indicate the possibility that this could make landfall in the Baja Peninsula, but it is more than likely that the system will turn westward as it decays in the tropical Pacific due to cooler sea surface temperatures and a higher shear environment. And a look here at Hurricane Adrian this morning. The storm is definitely on the downtrend. It did strengthen overnight into a formidable Category 1 hurricane. You notice that the convective bands have had some trouble wrapping around the circulation entirely, and this is likely due to a little bit of unfavorable upper-level winds here. But this is also beginning to encounter cooler sea surface temperatures out in this region, and so the storm will likely find its ultimate demise here within a few short days. But the storm is providing a little bit of shear over Tropical Depression 2E right now. And that will continue to be the case for several days as the storm kind of continues to parallel off towards the north here. So again, watching for the potential impacts from Tropical Depression 2E. Adrian at this point is no threat to land. This is the GFS 850 millibar vorticity, or the spin in the atmosphere at roughly about 5,000 feet off the ground. And again, right now we're just looking across the tropical Atlantic, and we notice that it is fairly quiet. There is no real organized area of shower and thunderstorm activity. We may have to watch again this subtropical system right now with a low probability of development, although again, most of the models today have not been overly enthusiastic about showing any type of development from this particular system. Then we'll be watching this lone tropical wave that emerges off the coast of Africa over the next several days. It's actually already emerged, but it is going to be interacting with a monsoon trough and parts from additional waves that will be emerging. And this definitely has a little bit of an interest in the GFS forecast. It develops some type of weak area of cyclonic vorticity here in the GFS model field. Now, whether or not this becomes a depression storm, anything like that, remains to be seen. It is just interesting, but the GFS doesn't really do too much with it. Just a weak area of cyclonic spin and energy in the atmosphere that moves into portions of Trinidad, Tobago, and into portions of the Lesser Antilles, and then moves into the Caribbean, where ultimately it just kind of dies out there and gets strung out. So again, there might be an impulse of energy, because all this is an impulse of energy in the atmosphere that could be moving through some of the island chains here within the next about couple of days or so. This goes out to about July 4th, so for you folks there in the US, this is July 4th, Independence Day. But obviously for folks down here in the Caribbean, We'll be watching this for our July 4th as well. This is early morning on July 4th. There could be a system rolling through, bringing with it some gusty winds, heavy rainfall. Not really seeing much in terms of any tropical development with this thing, but we'll just have to monitor that very carefully. And in the Eastern Pacific Basin, both of our systems out here right now, again, this is Adrian, this is Hurricane Adrian, and Tropical Depression 2E. You notice how quickly that we get a new tropical storm to form from TD2 out here. But this should remain off the coast here of, really off the coast of Mexico. And the GFS keeps this, in this particular run, keeps it well to the south of the Cabo San Lucas resort area and the Baja Peninsula. So we'll be monitoring this system very carefully over the next several days. Again, tropical storm and hurricane watches and tropical storm warnings have been issued. So please do refer to your local government agency for official forecasts with that. All right. So that being said, I do hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. Of course, I am Michael O'Malley. God bless everyone. Take care. Stay safe. And I'll talk to you guys again some more tomorrow.